If you are over 60 and you've noticed your belly getting harder, rounder, or more stubborn than it used to be, this video is for you. Not the soft, pinchable fat under the skin, the deeper fat, the fat that doesn't jiggle much, the fat that feels firm, the fat that wraps around your organs. That fat is called visceral fat, and after 60, it behaves very differently than it did in your younger years. Many people try harder exercise, fewer calories, or skipping meals, and nothing seems to work. That's because visceral fat is not controlled by willpower alone. It is controlled by hormones, inflammation, stress chemistry, sleep patterns, and daily habits that most people never connect to belly fat. Today we are going to talk calmly and clearly about what visceral fat really is, why it increases after 60, and the fastest, realistic way to shrink it over about 30 days, not through extreme dieting or punishing workouts, but by changing the signals your body responds to. This is not about quick fixes. It's about changing what your body believes it needs to store fat. Visceral fat is different from regular body fat. Subcutaneous fat sits under the skin. Visceral fat sits deep inside the abdomen, surrounding organs like the liver, pancreas, and intestines. This is why it's dangerous. Visceral fat is metabolically active. It releases inflammatory chemicals. It interferes with insulin sensitivity. It raises blood pressure. It stresses the liver. It increases the risk of heart disease and metabolic problems. The reason visceral fat becomes more common after 60 is not because you suddenly became lazy or undisciplined. It's because your internal environment changed. After 60, muscle mass naturally declines. Hormones shift. The stress hormone cortisol stays elevated longer. Sleep becomes lighter. Blood sugar regulation weakens. All of these changes signal one thing to your body: store energy, protect the organs, hold fat in the abdomen. So the fastest way to shrink visceral fat is not endless exercise. It is changing the signals that tell your body it is unsafe to let go of fat. Let's talk about the single most powerful driver of visceral fat after 60. Chronic, low-grade stress. Not emotional stress alone, but physiological stress. Skipping meals, poor sleep, excess sugar, constant snacking, highly processed foods, inflammation in the gut, long periods of sitting. All of these raise cortisol. Cortisol tells your body to store fat around the organs. This is why people over 60 can eat less than they used to and still gain belly fat. The body is not responding to calories, it's responding to stress signals. The fastest way to shrink visceral fat is to lower cortisol consistently, every day, while gently improving insulin sensitivity. That's the real secret, and it can begin working within weeks. One of the most powerful daily habits is timing your food to calm insulin and cortisol. After 60, constant eating keeps insulin elevated. Elevated insulin tells the body to keep visceral fat locked in place. The goal is not starvation. The goal is giving your body longer windows where insulin stays low. This allows fat-burning signals to turn on. Many seniors do best with a simple eating window, not extreme fasting. For example, eating meals within a consistent daytime window and avoiding late-night eating. Late-night eating is one of the strongest signals for visceral fat storage. At night, insulin sensitivity is lower. Food eaten late is more likely to be stored as fat, especially in the abdomen. Simply stopping food intake a few hours before sleep can significantly reduce visceral fat signals. Another powerful factor is protein timing. After 60, muscle tissue becomes resistant to protein unless it is eaten intentionally. Protein preserves muscle. Muscle burns glucose. Better glucose handling means less visceral fat storage. Starting the day with adequate protein instead of sugar or refined carbs reduces hunger hormones and stabilizes blood sugar for hours. This reduces cortisol spikes. Next is the role of ultra-processed foods. Processed foods are engineered to spike blood sugar quickly and repeatedly. Each spike increases insulin. Each crash increases cortisol. This cycle is one of the strongest drivers of visceral fat. Replacing processed foods with simple whole foods reduces inflammation and stress chemistry quickly, often within days. Sleep is another critical factor. Poor sleep raises cortisol the next day. Even one night of short sleep increases visceral fat storage. Many people over 60 sleep less deeply due to light exposure, irregular routines, or late meals. Improving sleep hygiene, consistent bedtime, darkness, and lighter evening meals directly affects belly fat. Movement also matters, but not in the way most people think. Long, exhausting workouts increase cortisol. Gentle, consistent movement lowers it. Walking after meals improves insulin sensitivity. Light resistance movements preserve muscle. Standing breaks reduce abdominal fat signaling. You don't need intense exercise to shrink visceral fat. You need consistent, non-stressful movement. Another often ignored factor is inflammation from the gut. Visceral fat responds strongly to gut inflammation. Certain foods irritate the gut lining and increase inflammatory signals that promote fat storage. Highly refined grains, excess sugar, and industrial oils are common triggers. Calming the gut calms visceral fat storage. Hydration also plays a role. Dehydration increases cortisol. Adequate water intake helps regulate appetite and metabolic signals. Alcohol deserves special mention. Even small amounts can increase visceral fat accumulation, especially after 60. Alcohol is processed by the liver, the same organ affected by visceral fat. Reducing or eliminating alcohol can produce noticeable belly changes within weeks. Now let's talk about the realistic timeline. In the first week, changes happen internally. Insulin sensitivity improves, bloating reduces, inflammation begins to calm. In the second week, the abdomen may feel less firm. Waist measurements may start to change slightly. Energy improves. By weeks 3 to 4, visceral fat reduction becomes more visible. Clothes fit better, the belly feels softer and smaller, blood sugar control improves. This is not magic, it's physiology responding to calmer signals. The fastest way to shrink visceral fat is not doing more, it's removing what keeps your body in stress mode. When your body feels safe, it releases fat, especially visceral fat. This approach works best when habits are consistent, gentle, and sustainable. Extreme diets backfire, over-exercise backfires, stress backfires. Calm consistency wins. If you are over 60, your body is not broken, it is cautious. And when you respect that caution instead of fighting it, change happens faster than you expect. Shrinking visceral fat is not about punishment, it is about reassurance. Reassuring your body that food is steady, sleep is regular, movement is safe, and stress is lower. When that happens, the belly responds, quietly, gradually, naturally.